provide a general overview of what the course is going to look like. First, we're starting with the open webinars, of which this is one of them. On May 16th, we're going to start our review of the applications. The applications have been posted online on our website, neurotrials.training. And the sort of review criteria have been sort of written into that application form. The webinars and all of the webinars are going to be open access and free like this. In addition, the residential course, where we have the in-person meetings and lectures, many of those will be recorded and placed up on our website at a later date in sort of honor of the idea of the new trend towards open education, open courseware initiatives, and those sorts of things. Once we've selected our participants in the course, we will start some small groups in advance of the course, which this year will be in Iowa City from July 28 to 31. In each of these small groups, we'll have mentors that will be core faculty members, one of which will be from clinical medicine and one of which will be a biostatistician, with the idea of helping you take the idea that you've proposed to the R25 Clinical Trials Methodology course and help you hone it further so that when you arrive at the course, we can all make substantial progress towards developing a really solid clinical trial protocol. And overall, the course has two major aims, one of which is to improve the pipeline of junior investigators or early career faculty members, or even people who've done a lot of animal or preclinical research in the past and are interested in getting into clinical trials now, and give them a good fundamental basis in the concepts of clinical trials with a particular interest and emphasis on clinical trials in the neurosciences for this course. The proposals should be designs that include some sort of intervention on people, in that a purely observational study would not be something that we would be working with. However, even a safety study with various doses in patients with stroke, those sorts of things would potentially be interesting with regards to new agents. After our residential course, shortly after that, you will be finalizing your clinical trial protocol, and we'll also be having some sessions that help with your development of a grant proposal. Because one of the logistical issues that we have observed with clinical trials is that we don't have a way necessarily of funding and conducting them, and that's something that's an important consideration that we need to sort of grab by the horns up front. Some of the additional activities that will occur via teleconferences will be some additional webinars like this. There are some topics that we think are maybe a little much to throw on you right away. In the Vail course previously, there were lectures on investigational new drug applications and other things, which are important to know, but may be overwhelming in terms of within the early phases of the course. So we're going to put those in afterwards, after you have a little bit more of a base from our education. In addition to mock study sections and mock IRBs that will occur through a similar mechanism to this. Our four course directors, myself, Dr. Roger Lewis, an emergency physician from Harbor-UCLA Medical Center, but an expert in methodology and clinical trial design, has served on numerous DSMBs and works in the design of many, many trials. Chris Coffey, who is the principal investigator of the Data Coordinating Center for NeuroNext at the University of Iowa and a biostatistician. Lori Gutman, who is a member of the Clinical Coordinating Center of NeuroNext and also a neurologist in practice at the University of Iowa. And then myself, I am also an investigator on the Clinical Coordinating Center of the Neurologic Emergencies Treatment Trials Network. So we have representation from those groups. The four general topical areas that we're covering are as follows. Maybe you could think of this from the sort of confines of graduate level courses, that there would be individual syllabi for each of these little mini classes within our course. Asking good questions in the scientific method. This is an example of this today. a very high-level overview of getting the question right at the beginning and how important that is, and also what sort of questions we should be asking and how we should be asking them. And that really is something that we frequently hear as junior investigators, and we frequently tell junior investigators, what is your question? And this idea of how you formulate this in a way that is both practical but meaningfully honors the preclinical data, but also informs the future studies so that you can move research forward afterwards. The second major topical area are biostatistics and design considerations. Obviously, biostatistics has at its base asking good, unbiased scientific questions. So there's a little overlap between these. These are not all mutually exclusive. Trial logistical considerations is the other one in terms of the nuts and bolts of really making trials work and having procedures in place to really know about everything that you need to do to patients. And like Dr. Barson was saying before, sometimes you design trials that are so complicated that you can't enroll in them because you have to move back and forth to so many different places. Responsible research. And the idea here is that our focus will not be on just the general things that are covered in any human subjects protection course, but with real focus on areas that are of particular interest in neurologic trials. Cognitive impairment is very common, and it brings up unique issues. That's one example of this. People have rapid changes in their cognition. Stroke patients may not be able to consent, but then they recover and then they can consent. It's those sorts of things. Oops, I think I skipped 2 pages there. So in terms of what the open webinars look like, this was the first one. They're all going to be archived. We're going to have them up on our website so they can be streamed via video. We'll have them basically on YouTube so they can be watched from any device. And we will be offering CME. We have not got our CME approved yet for this one, but we will be in the future. Participant selection, this is where we've had some questions. And as people have been sending us questions, we've been updating the frequently asked questions section of the website. We're asking for a 3-page bio sketch and then a 1-page form with your general clinical trial idea and area of research, along with your funding plan. And the idea with having a funding plan up front, even if it is, I'm going to apply to my local CTSA, or I'm going to submit an RO3, or I'm going to submit an AAN fellowship award. The idea is that to have a pathway forward, we have to have a way of doing the trial. The VAIL course and the clinical trial methodology course in NINDS was patterned after the very successful clinical oncology clinical trials course that was also held in VAIL. And one of the distinctions between neurology and research resources across institutions is that it is not like the cancer centers where there are actually more flexible funds to run protocols for junior investigators within cancer centers. And as such, junior investigators could take the course, go back, and actually have some funds available to run protocols. Most of us who are doing neurological research do not have that luxury, although of course anyone who's doing neuro-oncologic research is very welcome to take this course as well. A letter of support from the chair, which describes that you will be able to travel to Iowa City and engage in the course activities, and that they basically are supporting you as someone who is going to be developed into a clinical investigator who's going to do great things in research. Again, feel free to contact us with questions or early feedback on a draft of this if you want. We are really looking forward to getting these in. Basically honoring the instructions and the tenor of the chair's letter will probably be the things that are most important in terms of selection. This is our first year of doing this outside of the VAIL course, so we don't know exactly how many people are going to apply. So I would certainly encourage you to apply, and we will, even if we have too many people, we may be able to work something out. So I would encourage you to apply, and if if there's something that's running a little late and you might not be able to meet the deadline, like the chair letter, if you get us a sort of explanation that the chair's letter is running a little late. Our major focus is going to be on how your idea looks and how you look as someone who has a potential to be helped by the course. The small groups, again, this is outlined somewhat on the website, so I won't go into it in great detail, but our smaller group of core faculty will be leading each of these groups, and this will lead to the further development of your ideas from the application that you've submitted. And even if you find out that idea was not the right direction, and you've come up with a new direction in between when we select for the course and what we submitted, we can be very flexible. We certainly, if another animal or clinical study comes out that suggests what you submitted is not a good idea, but we've accepted you into the course, we certainly don't want to design something that you're not going to be able to implement. So we really want this to be practical. And the second major aim of the course, I mentioned the first was enhancing the pipeline of junior investigators. The second major aim is improving the rigor of the phase 1 and phase 2 studies that are acting as feeders for NET, NeuroNext, and the StrokeNet. So the idea is we can hopefully improve the methodology of neuroscience trials across the country, so that when people are doing single center studies, we can help you with those designs with the expertise of NeuroNext NET. And ultimately, we will have some faculty from StrokeNet as well. We just didn't know who they were at the time we were awarded this grant. So that will be something that's in process. The residential meeting will be 4 days. It will be these dates in Iowa City in July. Your expenses will be paid unless you have budgeted conference funding from a KT or F grant, and this is NIH contractual stuff. I wouldn't feel like you can't apply if you have a KT or F grant. We can sort this out with you on an individual basis. We certainly would want you to come to the course. If you're thinking of writing a K-23, this would be a good opportunity to take this course to help hone the design if a clinical trial is an aspect of that career development plan. And there'll be a combination of both small groups and larger group lecture type activities. We'll have further small group meetings after the conference, after the residential conference in Iowa City, and then we'll also hold the mock IRBs and study sections. This will all culminate with a sort of final reception at the American Academy of Neurology the following spring in 2015. And we're planning to have that yearly, so we'll be bringing you back in future years to talk to the additional cohorts of people who are going through the class. We'll have additional webinars, as mentioned, on things where you need a little foundation, but you'd be ready for at this point in time, like IDE or IND preparation. With that, this is just a picture that sort of that gives an overview of what some of the group activities look like, and both in the pre-webinars, the residential meeting, and activities that are occurring after the residential course. So they'll be occurring in the fall. If you have questions, I know that we're sort of here at the end of time. Please feel free to ask them here. I will stay here as long as people need to answer their questions through this. Also, certainly the website has my email address on it, which is wmeurer@umich.edu. But go to the website, and there's some frequently asked questions there. We're going to be adding some videos from the 2012 Vail course to our website soon. We have some of those processed. Those will also be viewable from YouTube, so you'll be able to look at them from any sort of device. And with that, I'm open to any questions about the course or applications for the course at this point in time. Unless I see nobody typing, in which case we will adjourn for now, and I can assume that people will email me any additional questions they have.